BYD is a name a lot of you might not be familiar with, but if you were to Google all that this company does, you'll realize that they have probably been a part of your life directly or indirectly. I'm not going to get into the details of all that this company does. What I'm going to talk about in detail though is this. This is the BYD Atto 3, the brand's second all-electric offering for the Indian market. It's already on sale and we've got the car with us. We'll tell you all about its features, exteriors, interiors, driving experience, range, everything. But before I get into that, do remember to subscribe to the channel and click on the bell icon so that you get notified every time we go live with new content on AutoToday.
Atto 3 styling blends sportiness and aggression with the SUV form factor quite well. Chrome has been used with restraint and it looks premium enough for its price, with LED lighting all around, including LED light strips both at the front and the rear, brushed metal finish for the element housing the BYD logo on the nose, and the ripple effect on the D-pillar. The only real dislike we have when it comes to styling is the Build Your Dreams badge, which is what BYD stands for, spelt out across the boot, because it looks a bit much. There are enough visuals to let you judge the Atto 3 styling yourself, but what they won't give you is a sense of the size of the car. It's bigger than EVs like the Hyundai Kona and the MG ZS EV, and similar in size to entry-level luxury SUVs like the Mercedes-Benz GLA and the Audi Q3.
As attractive as the exterior of the Atto 3 is, it's the interior that really catches your eye thanks to its funky offbeat styling. Everything that meets your eye, the way it's been styled, it's very different from what we've seen in cars in general. And just the things like these contours on the dashboard, the way these lines flow, the materials, the colors used, it's all very different and it's all very unique. And it's going to be a big selling point in my opinion of the BYD Atto 3, and it certainly is very attractive in my opinion. Let's start with the steering. This one's a flat bottom unit. It's all very regular in that sense compared to the rest of the interior. You get controls for your audio, phone, Bluetooth, and you get controls for ADAS functions and cruise control as well. And there are shortcuts to turn on the 360 view camera and also to rotate the screen, which is again something we've seen in the E6 and it's there in the BYD Atto 3 as well. Very cool, very unique. You won't find this in any other vehicle as such. The instrument cluster, it's not really much of a cluster, it's just one small display mounted on the steering column. Although it doesn't move with the steering, it stays stationary. It gives you all the driving information that you need, all the details. Doesn't really fall short in that sense in terms of giving out information. Again, just yet another thing that adds a bit of uniqueness to the cabin of the Atto 3. The screen, like I said, massive screen, it's all Android based. It's got built-in apps like Spotify, etc. And it's actually very, very responsive. That's one thing I really wanted to highlight. It's very smooth, very responsive, doesn't lag, and just responds to your touch inputs really well. It's got a whole lot of functionalities built into it. There are settings to change your steering mode from comfort to sport. There are settings to even change the brake pedal feel, comfort or sport based on your preferences. And of course, all other settings like ambient lighting, your charging settings, vehicle health settings, your music settings, everything else is all very well embedded and it functions really well. That's again something I wanted to highlight. It's very smooth in its execution. A lot of times you see cars that will add big screens and make it look very premium and fancy, but when you start using it they tend to fall short in some sense, but this one doesn't at all. There's also something called vehicle image, which gives you the 360 view that I was talking about. And again, the resolution of the cameras, that's very good. It's very well detailed and it actually really helps you if you are navigating a very tight spot or trying to park your car. There's also something called driving recorder, which lets you take pictures and even videos with the cameras that are in the car. You can take a picture of what's in front of the car. You can even record what is happening in front of the car. That's again something unique. You can copy it onto an SD card and use it as you wish.
While our test car didn't have Apple CarPlay or Android Auto, we're told the cars reaching customers starting January 2023 will have both connectivity options. Well, you get pretty much everything you'd expect from a car at this price point. there is certainly scope for improvement. The front seats aren't ventilated, and a dual zone climate control instead of a single zone one would be more in sync with the asking price. The 5-inch digital instrument panel feels a little undersized, and the font size of some of the readouts is a tad small to be perfectly legible, especially on the go.
Once you get over the rotating screen and you look lower down, the funkiness continues with these cylindrical air-con vents. The styling is there on the vents on the outside here and even the rear as well. Even this gear selector is quite cool. The rest of the buttons, you get a lot of switch gear for changing your driving modes, your 2 settings for regenerative braking. Then you have ADAS functions controlled as well over here, a scroller to change the volume. Behind that you get cup holders and a large cubby hole under this armrest. These, if you can see, are the door handles. Again, they've got the speaker integrated into them, and in its operation, in its look, it's all very, very different, very unique to the Atto 3. Lower down, the bottle holders, again, there are these strings which sort of make it look like a banjo in some way, and you can actually even play music if you're skilled enough. But I suspect if you've got kids in the car, then they might just drive you a little crazy by pulling on these strings. But overall, my point is, the cabin, the interior of the BYD Atto 3 is certainly very unique, certainly very attractive. The quality, fit and finish is also pretty good, nothing to complain about. Features are all there. You've got automatic climate control, you've got a wireless charger, you've got 360 camera, you've got a massive sunroof as well, so it doesn't really fall short in terms of features either. This is all about the front seat of the Atto 3, which again, they are electrically adjustable, by the way, if I forgot to mention. Both these seats are electrically adjustable. That's about the front seats, what you get if you seat it in the front. Let's step into the rear seat and tell you more about the space that is there. Front seat is adjusted to my driving position, and my height is 5'8" for reference, and with that setting, as you can see, I've got loads of knee room, I've got lots of leg room, I've got enough space underneath the front seat to stretch my legs out. All of that makes the rear seat of the Atto 3 a really comfortable place to be in. If I were to nitpick purely in terms of comfort, headroom is all great, shoulder room is fine, just that the under-thigh support is slightly lacking, but again, it's not really enough to, deduct points in terms of the rear seat experience of the Atto 3. In terms of features, if you're seated in the rear seat, you get these nifty pockets. You can place your phone, you can put other things, and similar pockets on both sides. You get air-con vents at the back. The design is similar to what we've seen in the front. Besides that, you get 2 charging ports. There's a Type A and a Type C. There's a small cubby hole to store whatever you want to store. There's a rear center armrest that drops down with twin cup holders. There's a bottle holder in the door as well, and again, the design we saw in the front door, it's there as well. Similar design for the handle to open the door with the speaker integrated into it. And all 3 passengers get 3-point seat belts and adjustable head restraints, which is great from a safety perspective. Overall feeling of being in the rear seat of the Atto 3 is very positive. This panoramic sunroof helps enhance the feeling of space, and in general, it's a very spacious, very comfortable place to be in.
A 5-star Euro NCAP crash test rating and 7 airbags help the Atto 3 score high on the safety front. At 440 litres, boot space is generous too, but there is no spare wheel, only a puncture repair kit, although BYD is contemplating offering a spare wheel as an accessory.
The Atto 3 comes with a single motor setup which powers the front wheels only. Power and torque figures, as you can see on your screen right now, are quite ample. 0 to 100 comes up in 7.3 seconds, which is fairly quick, as one would expect from an electric car. So if you're in sport mode like I am right now, and if you floor the throttle, the car moves forward pretty quickly. Once you get over all that acceleration and get into more details of the driving aspect of the Atto 3, everything's pretty good. It's very comfortable, it drives nicely, it's great to drive in the city. Out on the highway, again, it's very stable. It gives you the confidence to, hold triple-digit speeds easily. No complaints on that front.
Steering has the right amount of heft, and both the accelerator and brake pedals are calibrated well to elicit responses in a predictable, progressive manner. As is the case with most EVs, low speed ride is on the firmer side and sharp edged bumps aren't dealt with very well. But on the whole, driving the Atto 3 did not give us any reason to complain. While it's fairly quick in a straight line, the Atto 3 doesn't like to corner hard with plenty of body roll creeping in if you're carrying more speed than you normally would. That said, from an average user's perspective, the Atto 3 does the job of handling urban confines and highway cruising rather well.
You get two levels of regenerative braking. There is high and there is standard. There's a switch to toggle between them. Standard, as in relative terms to high, is very mild regenerative braking, actually extremely mild. High, unlike the name, isn't actually very high compared to what we've experienced in other electric vehicles. It's not very intense and it's very easy to get used to. So in that sense, for a first time EV driver, it won't be that much of a learning curve getting used to high regen settings. But there is no option to switch between them through pedals, or there is no one pedal driving mode either. So it's not like you can select a mode in which you can rely solely on regenerative braking to slow you down and modulate the throttle, so you don't really have to apply the brakes much. As per ARAI certification, the BYD Atto 3 will do more than 520 kilometers on a single charge, which is very healthy. But realistically speaking, what sort of range are we looking at? I would say about 450 maybe in the city and 350 to 400 out on the highway, because unless you don't know this yet, but electric cars aren't as efficient on the highway as they are in the city, simply because of the higher average speeds that you're maintaining. But in that sense, with the range, with its battery pack, the Atto 3 is pretty good to live with, especially if you're going to be using it primarily in the city. You really won't have any complaints.
With a 7 kilowatt AC charger that comes complimentary with the Atto 3, the claimed charging time stands at 9.5 to 10 hours. A 0 to 80% charge will take 50 minutes via an 80 kilowatt DC fast charger. One can also draw power from the car up to 3.3 kilowatt to plug in appliances like an electric kettle or laptops and phone chargers.
In terms of driver assistance features, the Atto 3 gets ADAS functionality, so you have your lane keep assist, front collision warning and braking. You also get lane departure warning. There's feedback from the steering. If, say, I try to stray out of my lane without indicating, there's this beep and there's some feedback from the steering which informs me that I am straying out of my lane. There are plenty of other ADAS features that this car gets, including ones that warn you in case you're opening the door and there's a vehicle approaching from behind, or if you're reversing out of a parking slot and there's a vehicle approaching. All that is very smart, and of course you have adaptive cruise control as well.
At Rs 33.99 lakh ex showroom, the BYD Atto 3 doesn't really have any direct rivals at the moment, slotting in between the likes of the Hyundai Kona and MG ZS EV on one end, and more premium luxury offerings like the Volvo XC40 Recharge and Kia EV6 on the other. Despite BYD's solid credentials, it's still an unfamiliar name in India, and that will make prospective buyers think twice before putting their money down on the Atto 3. Although 1500 orders since its launch in October is a fairly good number for an EV at this price. But if this car were a more recognizable badge, it would definitely sell more. That aside, an attractive exterior, eye-catching interiors, space, pleasant driving experience, a healthy range and enough premiumness to justify the asking price make the Atto 3 very likable. What do you think of the BYD Atto 3? Is it something you would like to buy? Or if you have any other opinions on the car, feel free to drop them in the comment section below. And if you like this video, don't forget to give us a thumbs up.